Chapter 28:14, Chapter 28:20, Birth of a New King 1 inch woo woo woo. Woo woo woo. 9, 10. Ha ha ha. Tianjin laughed out loud and his body split into 3. Each of them gave off the aura of an emperor god. 11, 12, 13. At the side, the 2 emperor god abyss species felt the strong aura and roared. Similarly, a primal aura surged towards the surroundings. Along with the 2 emperor god abyss species, there were a total of 15 emperor gods. 15 terrifying auras shot into the clouds. Terrifying energy stirred in the sky above the Imperial Court Island. This scene stunned everyone in the surroundings. This is emperor gods. All of them are emperor gods. SSS, this is the power of Dragon Palace. A dozen emperor gods, a total of a dozen. This is too strong. No wonder Dragon Palace is confident in defending against the combined attack of Imperial Court and Witchcraft Guild. Ha ha ha, that's great, that's great. At the back, members of Crescent Sect, Dragon Python Group, Beichuan Sect, Ancient God Dynasty and the other forces stared with their eyes wide open when they saw the sudden burst of power from Dragon Palace. They were filled with shock and disbelief. 13 Emperor Gods. How many experts did Dragon Palace have in the previous Battle of the Abyss? 4. Along with Xiaolan, there were 6. Now, there were a total of 13. How many Emperor Gods did Imperial Court have? Only 3 at the moment. That was 4 times the number of Imperial Court members. With such terrifying power, Dragon Palace could easily wipe out Imperial Court. They could even wipe out Witchcraft Guild. How is that possible? When the Emperor Lord, the 2 Emperor Gods, and all the experts and disciples of Imperial Court saw that, all of them were in disbelief. There were a total of 15 Emperor Gods. A total of 15. This power had exceeded their expectations. To them, no matter how strong Dragon Palace was and how many trump cards it had, 1 or 2 more Emperor Gods would be shocking enough. Now, there were a total of a dozen. This caused their expressions to be very interesting, and they kept changing there. How did this happen? How can Dragon Palace be so strong? This is impossible. The experts and disciples of Imperial Dynasty stared in disbelief and their bodies trembled. The power of the Dragon Palace terrified them. As expected of the heavenly array. Since it dares to wait for us here, it means that it has already made preparations. At the center, the sorcerer's expression changed when he saw this. He stood up slowly and stared at the group of experts. Haha, I'm afraid that your strength is not enough. A painting appeared in front of him. The painting flickered with light and contained a mystical power. There were many stars on it, like a star chart. This was the formation diagram, Purgatory World. Then let's give it a try. Tianjin stared at the Purgatory World with a cold glint in his eyes. Hehe, you are no match for me. The only troublesome thing is that giant beast, but I will refine it. The sorcerer stared at Little Blue, his eyes gleaming. During this period of time, he had also learned a little about what had happened in the Imperial Court of the Imperial Star region. He had also heard of this giant beast. This was the start of the Imperial Dynasty's disaster. At the same time, this giant beast was a really terrifying existence. He was very curious about how it had become a giant in just a few years. Haha, when I was at my peak, you didn't dare to be so arrogant in front of me. Now, you are a villain who has achieved success. When Tianjin heard the sorcerer's words, his face was full of mockery. Mph, I can destroy you once in the past. Now, I can destroy you again. The sorcerer roared coldly. The formation diagram of the Purgatory World in the sky suddenly expanded and shrouded the void. The entire void underwent a huge change because of the formation diagram. You talk too much nonsense, Little Blue. Wang Xian stared at the sorcerer and immediately ordered Little Blue. Woo woo. The terrifying power on Little Blue trembled slightly, and the surrounding space collapsed instantly. Its entire body drifted between the void crack and reality, and instantly rushed to the front of the Purgatory World. Ka. The void in front of the Purgatory World let out a cracking sound, and the formation diagram shook violently. Kill. Seeing this, the sorcerer's expression changed slightly as he roared. Ha ha ha, kill, kill, kill. Sorcerer, hold that beast back and leave the rest to me. Without that gigantic beast, this sovereign lord is invincible. Seeing Little Blue rushing towards the sorcerer, the Emperor Lord revealed a hideous expression. Although the Emperor Court and Witch Society had fewer God Emperors than the Dragon Palace, the Emperor Lord and the sorcerer were both second-order God Emperors. As long as the sorcerer could completely restrain that beast, he would be invincible. All disciples, kill everyone from the Dragon Palace. One of the Emperor Court God Emperors ordered sternly. Kill. The rest of the disciples let out ferocious roars filled with killing intent. Although the Dragon Palace had many God Kings, they had 2 second-order God Emperors. Moreover, the God Emperors of the Witch Society were not ordinary God Emperors. Moreover, they had the 400,000-strong army of the Witch Society. Invincible? Emperor Court God, let the Dragon Palace have a taste of your strength. Wang Xian stared at the Emperor Lord with a cold expression. He moved. Behind him, Roving Heavens and the rest of the 7 God Emperors immediately followed behind Wang Xian. HMPH, are you looking down on us? The other 2 God Emperors from the Imperial Court stared at Wang Xian and the rest with killing intent. However, at this moment, 2 God Emperor-level Abyss Demons moved and attacked the 2 Emperor Court God Emperors. Let's attack the Sky Formation. The 5 God Emperors from the Witch Society locked their blood-red eyes on the Sky Formation and roared. The 5 of them moved and charged towards the Sky Formation. Woo woo. Xiao Zhai moved and attacked one of the God Emperors from the Witch Society. Wu Shan, restrain that beast. Leave the Sky Formation to us. One of the God Emperors from the Witch Society roared. The 4 of them attacked the Sky Formation. Ha ha ha, I could take on the entire Witch Society alone thousands of years ago. Now, it's a piece of cake for me to deal with the 4 of you. The 3 bodies of the Sky Formation immediately separated and stood in 3 different directions. 9 Gods Formation, activate. He roared furiously. Each of the divine dragon heads on his body gave off a ray of light that surged towards the sky and the ground. A formation that connected heaven and earth enveloped the center of the Imperial Court Island. The vast formation gave off terrifying divine might. Although your shaman association has one more emperor god than I expected, my traitor disciple looks a little weak. Today, I shall guide you again. Sky Formation roared coldly. Chapter 28:15, Chapter 28:21, Birth of a New King 2111. The battle began and the array was activated. The 9 Gods Formation was a large-scale offensive and defensive formation that was built on the basis of 9 attributes. The entire array had 9 powerful attributes. Each of the 9 attributes could go against one Emperor God. However, to really hold them back, it would be safer to go against 8. In that case, let me see just how much of my master's strength is left. The Emperor roared with a dark face. With a wave of his arm, the array was formed. Beside him, the other 3 experts from the Witch Alliance waved their arms and threw out array compasses towards the 9 gods array. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, terrifying collisions were heard from above. Dragon King, you want to pin me down with just 8 First-Order Emperor God Realm experts? Wishful thinking. I'll slaughter all of you today. In the sky, the Emperor Lord held the scepter of radiance in his hand. A huge pair of radiant wings propped up the void. Countless judgment spears flew towards Wang Xian and the rest. Block. In an instant, Wang Xian and the rest were shocked. Only 10 Emperor gods from Dragon Palace could withstand the Emperor Lord. Now, the 8 of them had to go all out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The 5 elements grindstone appeared in front of Wang Xian. With the 5 elements revolving, an earth shield appeared in front of him. Roving Heavens, Roving Demon, Roving Xingmu, Roving Crab, and the rest also released their defenses and stacked them on top of the earth shield. Bam bam bam! Sounds of collisions rang out one after another, and the layers of defenses quickly collapsed. Fortunately, Wang Xian and the rest were able to withstand the Emperor Lord's defense. Dragon King, this won't do. We need 10 Emperor gods to be able to withstand it. Roving Heavens said with a bitter expression. Buy them a few seconds. Wang Xian growled. Galactic Beast, Boulder Golden Elephant, attack. Sorcerer Army, attack. Dark Army, attack. Sorcerer Beast Army, attack. At this moment, the order to attack sounded from below. The army of the witches began to move. All disciples of the imperial court, attack. The 2 guardians of the imperial court roared and gave the same order to attack. All disciples of Dragon Palace, defend with all your might. Below, when Prime Minister Turtle saw the incoming army, he bellowed with a solemn expression. At the very front, a group of imperial dragons came to the front and formed an indestructible defense. Woo woo woo. In the sky, the God Emperor's Abyss species and Lil Blue ordered the Abyss species to defend with all their might. Compared to offense, defense was much easier. Ha ha ha, you want to defend? Do you think the dozen Emperor gods in the Dragon Palace can withstand our attack? Wishful thinking, die. The first protector of the imperial court hollered with a murderous look. His body flashed and he waved his arm, causing the god net to appear in front of him. Destroy them. He roared with a ferocious expression. At the side, the 2 imperial court protectors took out the heaven and earth net. The heaven net, earth net, and divine net were supreme treasures that could fight against 2 void god emperors. Oh no, the Dragon Palace is in danger. The Dragon King and the rest are being suppressed by the Emperor Lord of the imperial court. The battle prowess of those below the God Emperor level is much weaker. After all, it is the imperial court and witchcraft society. Both of them have existed for hundreds of millions of years and their foundations are unfathomable. At the back, Kitogawa Munoyu and the other experts and disciples of the various forces saw this and their faces turned pale. Although the Dragon Palace had many emperor gods, in terms of overall strength, the imperial court and witchcraft society were clearly stronger. In terms of battle prowess of those below the God Emperor level, the Dragon Palace was much weaker. Kill. In front, countless imperial court disciples and witchcraft society experts moved. Below, a figure suddenly charged towards the first protector of the imperial court who was controlling the god net. The first protector of the imperial court sensed a disciple charging towards him and he was slightly stunned. Sensing the disciple's strength and aura, he frowned slightly. Pu. But at this moment, the disciple's body suddenly exploded. A pitch-black figure flew towards him at a terrifying speed. This caused his expression to change drastically. Pu. But the black figure was simply too fast. In the next moment, it entered his body. The first protector of the imperial court didn't react at all. His eyes turned black and he was completely stunned. The sudden scene caused the 2 protectors who were controlling the nets of heaven and earth to be aghast. First protector. They shouted at the first protector warily. Huff huff, I'm fine. The first protector's eyes regained clarity as he shook his head and replied immediately. Kill, destroy the Dragon Palace. Then, he continued to shout with a murderous look. The 2 protectors controlling the heaven and earth net frowned as they sensed the first protector's aura and thought of the black figure just now. What was going on? However, the war had already broken out and there was no time for them to think too much. The god net had already covered the entire void. The 2 of them waved their arms and flew towards the first protector. Pu. However, just as they came to the first protector's side, 2 pitch-black claws came out of the first protector's body. Before they could react, they widened their eyes and looked at the first protector in shock as they spat out fresh blood. However, the first protector no longer had any signs of life. Here. An eerie voice came from the first protector's body. As his body split apart, a pitch-black figure moved and kept the heaven, earth, god net and the 3 corpses. Oh no, the first protector and the rest were killed. Shit. The moment the imperial court's first protector and the other 2 protectors were killed, some experts sensed the situation and roared out with extremely ugly expressions. What? The first protector was killed. SSS, how is this possible? Be careful, there might be a mysterious existence hiding among us. That's the God Emperor. There's still a God Emperor in the Dragon Palace. Behind them, the group of imperial court disciples were shivering as they shouted. Instantly, the entire imperial court was in a panic. Another God Emperor had appeared in the Dragon Palace. He, Duan Jinming, control the heaven, earth, god net and kill them. The black figure was none other than Orokai. He waved his arm and tossed the heaven, earth and god net to Duan Jinming and the rest. Duan Jinming, Minghua, Golden Dragon and the rest were also cultivating in formations. Hence, they were able to control such supreme treasures very quickly. Great, great, great. When Prime Minister Turtle saw that the heaven, earth and god net were obtained by the Dragon Palace, he was excited. The heaven, earth and god net were the strongest means apart from the God Emperor of the Imperial Court. Now that the Dragon Palace had obtained them, this battle was more beneficial to the Dragon Palace. Hey, Dragon King, I'm here to kill the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court. Chapter 28:16. Great. Seeing that the Orokai had succeeded, Wang Xian was thrilled. From the start, Dragon Palace had set their sights on the heaven, earth, divine three nets. The heaven, earth, divine three nets was a huge problem for Dragon Palace. However, once Dragon Palace obtained it, it would be a huge help. The heaven, earth, divine three nets were in the hands of the great protectors of the Imperial Court. Given Orochi's strength, he could instantly parasitize them and obtain the heaven, earth, divine three nets. Damn it, all of you from Dragon Palace deserve to die. The Emperor of the Imperial Court trembled slightly as he saw the situation below. Another God Emperor had emerged from Dragon Palace. Why did they have so many God Emperors? Were God Emperors like cabbages? 3 protectors were killed and Dragon Palace obtained the heaven, earth, divine three nets. This was a huge help to Dragon Palace. He, old dog, we'll play with you. Today, I'd like to see how you're going to defeat Dragon Palace. Ha, things will get interesting if you can't defeat us. Orokai roared with a stern face, his face full of excitement. All of you, die. A pair of radiant wings appeared behind the Emperor of the Imperial Court. He waved his radiant staff at them. Block. Wang Xian growled. With the arrival of Orokai, the pressure on them would be lessened. If they kept defending, they could hold on for at least 10 minutes. Trash. In the middle of the witches' gathering, 3 figures in black robes stood there. When they saw what happened over at the Imperial Dynasty's side, they said with an ugly expression. One of the 3 figures had a pair of wings on his back and a blood-red eye in between his eyebrows. He was holding a treasure bottle in his hand. The one in the middle looked extremely skinny as though he was a bag of bones. A blood-red cloth was wrapped around his neck. The last figure held a yellow flute in his hand. There was a picture of a desolate beast on the back of the flute. We can use the heaven, earth, divine three nets now. Ha. Duan Jinming and the rest roared excitedly at the Dragon Palace. They immediately set up the heaven, earth, divine three nets above the Dragon Palace. At this moment, a sharp metallic gleam appeared in front of them. 2 massive creatures were charging towards them. Their impact was far beyond the pinnacle God King level. Just leave these 2 monsters to us. Boom boom boom. Up in the sky, Ao Fenghuang and the others controlled the flaming God Star. The flaming black hole in the center of the God Star shot out terrifying fireballs and meteorites. One after another, fireballs and meteorites fell on the bodies of the 2 golden mammoths, sending them flying backwards. Behind them, the wizard beast army of the Witchcraft Association hurriedly dodged to the side. Kill. On the side, numerous Imperial Dynasty disciples and experts attacked once more under the Imperial Dynasty Protectors Organization. At the front, many abyss species roared and resisted Imperial Dynasty's attack. Due to the large number of Imperial Dynasty protectors dying, the Imperial Dynasty disciples and experts weren't as strong as the abyss demons. The gap between peak God Kings was even greater. Dark Cloud. In front of them, the wizard followers of the Witchcraft Association had joined hands to set up an extremely powerful attack formation. Dark and gloomy clouds formed, and the whole world dimmed. A huge dark cloud, carrying a terrifying and strange energy, covered all the disciples of Dragon Palace. Heavenly net, earthly net, and divine net, break. Duan Jinming roared as 3 huge nets clashed with the dark cloud. The huge nets formed a dense lightning defense in front of them. Lightning spiders swam on the surface of the nets. Crackle. Bolts of lightning struck at the dark cloud, and the dark cloud dissipated rapidly. Not bad, not bad. The supreme treasure of the imperial dynasty is very powerful. Prime Minister Turtle smiled when he saw the heaven, earth, and divine net fending off the powerful array set up by an army of the Witchcraft Association. Damn it! When the people of the imperial dynasty heard this, their faces turned extremely gloomy. Similarly, the faces of the witch followers of the Witchcraft Association were also extremely grim. Witch Beast Army, charge! 100,000 experts of the Witchcraft Association rode on their war beasts and charged towards the Dragon Palace. Imperial Dragon Species, resist. Heaven's Eye Arrow Unit, fire. Prime Minister Turtle bellowed. Ha! Imperial Sky. AO2 roared, and city walls appeared in front of him. There was a dragon turtle pattern on the city walls, and the turtle shell on the dragon turtle pattern was emitting an earthy yellow glow. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Behind them, countless arrows flew towards the Heaven's Eye Witch Beast Army. Although the God King experts of the Witchcraft Association were of a higher level, the Dragon Palace wasn't afraid in a battle of defense. Block. Charge. The leader of the Witch Beast Army roared as beams of energy shot towards the arrows. At the same time, they continued charging towards the earthy yellow city walls. Play. At the back, Tang Yinxian stared at the Witch Beast Army. With a wave of her arm, a divine zither appeared in front of her. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Ring, ring, ring. Behind her, there were tens of thousands of young men and women. They moved and turned into dolphin-like figures. A series of sound waves blasted forward. Roar, roar, roar. When the sound waves reached them, the witch beasts let out chaotic roars. Bam, bam, bam. Some of the witch beasts seemed to be in great pain as they jumped on the spot. Bam, bam, bam. Roar, roar, roar. The instant of chaos caused the war beasts at the back to collide with the war beasts at the front. The entire witch beast army was in chaos even before they reached the city walls. The Dragon Palace has many tricks up its sleeves. In the middle, the three figures who hadn't moved all this while frowned and commented. Let's do it. Break into the Dragon Palace and assist the sorcerers to eliminate the Emperor Gods of the Dragon Palace and the Heaven Formation. The old man in the middle who was wrapped in a crimson cloth said, I'll go first. The old man who was holding the treasure vase opened it slowly. Witch GU, come out. When the treasure vase opened, a hideous monster crawled out slowly. GU came from the witch clan. This GU was nurtured by the Witchcraft Association's sorcerers for millions of years. This wasn't the first GU that the Witchcraft Association had reared. In the past, the Witchcraft Association had reared one too, but it was killed by the Heaven Formation. This GU had been nurtured for millions of years and possessed the strength of an emperor god. Ka. Soon, a hideous witch GU that was 10,000 meters in size and covered in blood-colored lumps appeared in the sky. Eliminate them. The old man who was holding the treasure vase roared. GU. The witch beast roared. With poison, darkness, and blood, it attacked all the members of the Dragon Palace. Chapter 28:17, Birth of a New King 4-inch. They're starting to reveal their trump card. When Prime Minister Turtle and the rest saw the horrifying monster charging towards them, their faces turned extremely solemn. This is just the beginning. The old man with the blood-red cloth around his neck said coldly as he slowly untied the blood-red cloth around his neck. The cloth floated in front of the old man, giving off a bloody aura. Buzz. He stretched out his finger, and fresh blood flowed towards the blood-red cloth. 3 words appeared on it: Dragon Extermination Palace. Buzz buzz buzz. The entire cloth trembled as if it had a mind of its own. When the 3 words were completed, the blood-red cloth seemed to have been activated as it swept towards the Dragon Palace. Mark of a venerable, slaughter them all. His eyes were filled with blood-red light as he roared. The sound waves coming from the Dragon Palace are a little strange. The earthy yellow defense looks strong too. Let's show them my control of Earth. Finally, an old man with a flute in his hand looked forward and placed the flute next to his mouth. Woo woo. The sound of the flute rang out. In front of him, earthy yellow laws of energy appeared out of thin air and formed a terrifying monster. The monster formed from the laws of energy was filled with a terrifying might. It looked like a gigantic stone monster that was over 100,000 meters in size. This was another existence that could contend against a god-emperor. Boom boom boom. The khaki-colored nomological monster moved its feet, creating a rumbling sound as it stepped on the void, and similarly attacked the dragon palace. Powerful witchcraft, mysterious mark of a venerable, blood-red cloth, and a powerful earthy yellow monster. This was the foundation of the Witchcraft Union. Each of them was comparable to a first-order god-emperor. These three treasures were not all the Witchcraft Union had up their sleeves. Only two of their trump cards were guarding the Witchcraft Union's foundation. Hiss, the Witchcraft Union is starting to take out their trump card. How terrifying. That hideous and terrifying monster is a god-emperor level existence. The monster condensed from the earth elemental law also has the might of a god-emperor. Also, that crimson cloth is even weirder. Kitagawa Munuyu and the other forces experts who were watching the battle from the back felt their hearts pounding when they saw the Witchcraft Union's trump card. The spectators all felt that this battle was extremely exciting. Even his heart couldn't take it. After all, this also concerned their life and death. Prepare to defend. Prime Minister Turtle looked at the two Emperor God-level monsters and a creepy piece of cloth. His eyes narrowed as he reminded all the members of the Dragon Palace. Prepare to die. With your strength, you won't be able to withstand it. The three old men stood in the center with smiles on their faces. Whoosh. Suddenly, a powerhouse from the Dark Army coughed up blood and was sent flying in their direction. Buzz. When the old man holding the bottle saw this, he waved his arm and a gentle force landed on his body, stopping him from flying backwards. Thank you, Lord Wizard Servant. The middle-aged man with two black horns quickly turned around and said to the old man. The old man nodded slightly. He stared straight ahead and did not pay any more attention to him. Whoosh. However, at that moment, a black shadow suddenly emerged from the middle-aged man's body. In an instant, he arrived in front of the three wizard servants. TSK, TSK, TSK. A creepy, ear-piercing sound was heard. The three wizard servants narrowed their eyes and were shocked. Shit. Die. Bastards from the Witchcraft Union. The creepy black shadow's pitch-black claws covered the three of them and carried the might of an emperor god. Run. The three of them were horrified. Without any hesitation, they tried to escape to the side. However, they were still far from being an emperor god. When the terrifying attack landed on them, sharp thorns appeared in their palms and pierced towards them. The three of them revealed a look of despair. The old man who was holding the vase poured energy into the vase. The earthen yellow monsters that were attacking the dragon palace dissipated, and earthen yellow laws covered the old man's body. Fut fut. The sound of something penetrating was heard. Huh. However, Moshaw frowned and let out a gasp of surprise. At the next moment, he felt a terrifying force charging towards him from his palm. Moshaw waved his arm and kept the other two corpses before retreating. TSK, TSK, TSK. When he retreated thousands of kilometers, he realized that the old man holding the bottle was shrouded by the law of earth and was letting out ear-piercing screams. Impressive. What a powerful treasure. Moshaw smiled. He moved and immediately flew towards the direction of the Dragon Palace. TSK, 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 another great reward. He looked to the front. There, the blood-red cloth that was giving off a creepy aura and powerful aura was shrinking and drifting downwards. In a flash, he appeared before Prime Minister Turtle and the rest with the cloth and waved his arm. Study this creepy thing and see if it can be used. TSK, 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 Dragon King, I'm coming. Moshaw laughed maniacally and joined the battle against the Emperor God. Everything happened in an instant. From the moment Moshaw attacked to the moment he charged towards Wang Xian, everything happened in an instant. The entire battlefield paused. At this moment, be it the people from the Imperial Court or the Witchcraft Union, all of them widened their eyes and trembled in fear. The two wizard servants have been killed. Another God Emperor from the Dragon Palace. Another God Emperor. How is this possible? How many God Emperors does the Dragon Palace have? At this moment, The people from the imperial court were breaking down. At the start, there were 10 god emperors, which far exceeded the strength of the imperial court. Now, there were 2 god emperors consecutively. What was worse was that a creepy god emperor from the dragon palace had hidden among the disciples and snatched away the heaven, earth, divine 3 nets. One took the appearance of an expert from the witchcraft union and killed the 2 wizard servants instantly, snatching away a treasure that could fight against god emperors. How were they going to fight after such a situation happened consecutively? Some of the disciples from the imperial court were in despair. They felt that it would be difficult to wipe out the dragon palace today. Not just the imperial court, even the experts from the witchcraft union were grimacing. When they came, they had never expected the dragon palace to be so terrifying. Even more terrifying than the sky array god emperor. Dragon palace, why do you have so many god emperors? When the emperor god saw Mo Sha flying over and the changes below, his body trembled once again as he roared. They wanted to ask the heavens and the earth, why did the dragon palace have so many experts? They were clear about the development of the dragon palace. That woman was already terrifying enough, but they had not expected the dragon palace to be even more terrifying. Chapter 28:18, Birth of a New King 5-inch. This dragon palace. The sorcerer who was fighting Xiaolan by the side saw another emperor god from Dragon Palace. His face darkened as he looked at the emperor lord. He had a bad feeling about this. The successive occurrences not only dealt a huge blow to their morale, but also greatly weakened their strength. The imperial court's treasure, the universal divine 3 nets, and the witchcraft alliance's scar of the Venerable One. The scar of the Venerable One had been snatched away by Dragon Palace. His heart was bleeding. Under such circumstances, Dragon Palace, together with the countless abyss species, was able to stand against them. Damn it! The sorcerer bellowed, and the Purgatory World Array diagram in the sky launched a series of destructive attacks towards Little Blue. Woo woo woo. Xiaolan's body vibrated with greyish energy. It was unafraid of his attacks. However, Xiaolan couldn't suppress the sorcerer like how it suppressed the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court. In terms of strength, it wasn't too far away from the sorcerer of the Witchcraft Alliance. With the addition of Devilish, the 10 Emperor Gods of Dragon Palace weren't at a disadvantage against the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court. They could even surround him and counterattack. 2 Emperor Gods of the Imperial Court were fighting against 2 Emperor God Abyss species. They were also completely entangled. At the Heaven Array, he was controlling the array to fight against the 4 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Alliance. He was fighting from afar and wasn't at a disadvantage. Even Xiao Zhai was able to deal with the Emperor God of the Witchcraft Alliance. The situation was completely stabilized. We withstood it. Dragon Palace withstood the joint attack of the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Alliance. They're too strong. Ha ha ha. Great, this is great. At this moment, the most excited were the experts and disciples from North Creek sect. The situation had stabilized. The Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Alliance wouldn't be able to destroy such a powerful Dragon Palace. As long as Dragon Palace was around, they wouldn't be in any danger. All disciples of Dragon Palace, prepare to counterattack. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle looked at the situation in front of him. His eyes shone brightly as he shouted excitedly. It was time to counterattack. Based on the trump card that the Witches Association had displayed so far, the Mark of the Venerable had been obtained by the Dragon Palace. All that was left was the bloody and ferocious Witchcraft GU and the Earth Element monster that was condensed from the treasure bottle. These 2 God Emperor level existences were completely entangled by the Heaven-Earth God's 3 nets. The entire Witch Legion was completely suppressed by the Flame God Star. The Dragon Palace was not afraid of the remaining Wizard Beast Army and Dark Army. Coupled with the countless abyssal species, the Dragon Palace was even stronger than the Imperial Court and the Witch Union. In the sky, Xiaolan ordered all the abyssal species to attack. The other 2 God Emperor Abyss species roared, ordering all the Abyss species to attack. Kill. Su su su. Boom boom boom. Under Prime Minister Turtle's orders, the Imperial Dragon held the Earth Shield and charged forward. Behind them, the Heaven's Eye Arrow unit fired a barrage of arrows towards the front. Dragon Palace Berserk Dragon species, Heaven lightning earth and fire dragon phoenix species, spike dragon species, starwood dragon species, and many others followed closely behind the imperial dragon species, charging towards the enemies ahead. At the side, with the orders from their leader, countless abyssal species charged forward with bloodthirst and violence. The entire battlefield was in a frenzy. Kill, kill, kill. When the imperial court experts and disciples saw the dragon palace and the abyssal species counterattacking, their hearts pounded. The imperial court protectors could only grit their teeth and give the order to attack. Kill. Countless imperial court disciples and experts could only bite the bullet and charge towards the abyssal species. It was a truly brutal attack. Such a war didn't break out in the abyss previously. However, it broke out on the island of the imperial court, in their lair. In an instant, blood splattered all over the place. The truly brutal war had begun. The fearless abyssal species and the imperial court disciples had no choice but to fight. Shit. Sorcerer, does the Witch Union still have any trump cards? The Emperor Lord's heart sank when he saw the war erupting below. Hundreds of thousands of imperial court disciples were dying every second. He roared immediately. Boom, boom, boom. The sorcerer from the Witch Union didn't say a word. He just attacked Xiao Lan. Right now, his expression was also very ugly. According to the news from the imperial court, the Dragon Palace only had 4 god emperors. In addition to the 2 god emperor abyssal species, 6. But now, the Dragon Palace had a total of 13. In addition to the god emperor abyssal species, they had a total of 15. This was excluding the Sky Array God Emperor. There were 9 more God Emperors than the Imperial Court had given them. A total of 9 God Emperors. In a huge war, usually one God Emperor would be able to change the tides of the battle. But now, there were 9 more God Emperors. These were 9 God Emperors. Every single one of them was a famous existence in the starry sky. With 9 more God Emperors, the Dragon Palace was able to fight against them. One could imagine how much preparation the Witch Union had made to kill the Sky Array God Emperor. To them, there was a 10,000% chance that they could destroy the Sky Array. But now, although the Witch Union didn't bring all their trump cards with them, the remaining 2 trump cards were too big and not easy to carry. They could only be treated as treasures of the Union. Under such circumstances, not only did they fail to take down the Dragon Palace, they failed to suppress the Sky Array. Instead, they were attacked by the other party. It would be impossible to destroy the Sky Array. It could also be said that they had lost this time. Moreover, after witnessing the strength of the Dragon Palace, it would be extremely difficult to destroy the Sky Array in the future. At the thought of this, his body trembled. Once the Sky Array recovered to its peak, the Witch Union would face a calamity. But now, they had no other way. He didn't blame the Imperial Court. He knew that the Imperial Court wasn't clear of the strength of the Dragon Palace. They were the ones who suffered the greatest loss this time. The sorcerer from the Witch Union didn't speak. The Imperial Court Emperor Lord's face darkened. He knew that the Witch Union had no more trump cards. The Imperial Court Emperor Lord roared in disbelief. He wielded the Scepter of Light and attacked furiously. They had failed. Their alliance with the Witch Union had failed. How were they going to fight against the Dragon Palace in the future? In fact, the entire Imperial Star region would be occupied by the Dragon Palace. The islands of the Imperial Court would become the territory of the Dragon Palace. Moreover, they had to prevent the Dragon Palace from attacking them. Given the strength of the Dragon Palace, they could destroy the Imperial Court. Defeat, a complete and utter defeat. Ha ha ha, the Witch Union can't do it. Even with the Imperial Court, you can't do it. The 4 of you can't even fight against me alone. You're too weak. Ha ha ha. In the center of the 9 god formation, Sky Array saw this scene and laughed heartily. In front of him, the faces of the Emperor and the other 3 Emperor gods from the Witch Union were as black as ink. Chapter 28:19, Birth of a New King 6-inch Kill. Boom boom boom. In the sky above, a group of god emperors was engaged in a huge battle. Down below, the slaughter had completely broken out. The Witchcraft GU from the Witchcraft Society and the Abyssal Seed condensed from the Earth Elemental Law were completely entangled by the heaven, earth, and divine 3 nets. Now, the Dragon Palace relied on the Fire God Star to suppress the entire witch army. They had 400,000 God King and above experts, and the Dragon Palace did not lose out to them. After the Battle of the Abyss, the weakest member of the Dragon Palace had the strength of a divine king. With the support of the divine Fire Star, the Dragon Palace was slowly suppressing the Wizard Association. Moreover, the Abyss species that Lan Qingyu controlled were also helping the Dragon Palace in battle. As for the Imperial Dynasty, they were in trouble. The Imperial Court only had over 20 peak stage God King experts, while the Abyss species had close to 60 peak stage God King experts. The huge gap caused the experts of the Imperial Dynasty to be killed quickly. If this continued, the entire Imperial Dynasty would be slaughtered. Great Ancestor, we are no match for the Abyssal species. The violent battle only lasted for a minute before an Imperial Court protector couldn't help but roar. His words caused the hearts of the Emperor Lords of the Imperial Court to tremble violently. Retreat, retreat to our heavenly witchcraft region. The sorcerer looked down and said with a gloomy expression. At the same time, he sent an invitation to the Imperial Court. In the face of a powerful enemy like the Heavenly Dragon Palace formation, even the Shaman Association was no match for it. Once the Dragon Palace and the Heavenly Array attacked, the Shamans would not be able to defend themselves. Only by working together with the Imperial Dynasty would they be able to fight against the Dragon Palace Heaven formation. All Imperial Court disciples, retreat. When the Sovereign Lord heard his words, his eyes reddened and he almost cried. This retreat was different from the previous one. Previously, they thought that they would be able to kill their way here in half a month and destroy the Dragon Palace. If he retreated, he would probably leave the Imperial Star region forever and become a stray dog. However, he also knew that if he didn't retreat, he would die. At this time, if they retreated to the Heavenly Witch Domain and joined forces with the Witch Association, there was still a chance of revenge. Retreat! Retreat! All elders and deacons, retreat! When the Imperial Court protectors and the others heard the Great Ancestor's words, they immediately roared loudly. Retreat! Run, 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 run away from here! When some of the Imperial Court's disciples heard this order, their faces lit up with joy and they immediately roared out. Boom, boom, boom! One by one, the Imperial Court experts released layers of defense and retreated. Members of the Witches Association, retreat! The sorcerer looked down at his subordinates and gave the same command. Lord Magus, should we return to the Divine Kingdom? The entire Witchcraft Union didn't collapse like the Imperial Court. They received the order and an expert from the Witchcraft Union asked. No, you can't. Sorcerer, we Imperial Court experts have our own god nations. Once you become members of the Sorcerer Association and run away, our Imperial Court disciples will be finished. The Sovereign Lord said agitatedly as soon as the powerhouse from the Witch Association finished speaking. All the experts in the Imperial Dynasty had their own god countries with them. They couldn't escape at all. Once the Shaman Alliance's experts escaped, the Dragon Palace would change targets and attack the Imperial Court's disciples. Would the Imperial Court even be able to escape? Retreat as we fight. The Shaman of the Witchcraft Association pondered for a moment before ordering his disciple. It's Lord Magus. Retreat as you fight. The expert from the Witchcraft Association replied immediately. Trying to escape. Wang Xian's eyes flashed coldly when he heard them. He looked around and fixed his gaze on Sky Formation. Sky Formation, hold back the 4 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Association. Fiery Star, assist Sky Formation. Xiao Lan, order all the Abyss species to attack. Keep attacking. If they escape, we'll chase after them. All Dragon Palace disciples, chase after them. You want to annihilate the Dragon Palace? Do you think it's so easy for you to leave now? Ha ha ha, kill them. Wang Xian bellowed furiously. You came to attack the Dragon Palace. Now that you're no match for us, how can we let you go so easily? Yes, Dragon King. Sky Formation's aura shook again when he heard Wang Xian's command. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. 4 from the Witchcraft Association, either you escape to your Void Divine Kingdom or you'll be trapped here. 9 Gods Formation, burn. Sky Formation bellowed. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At the side, Ao Feng Huang and the rest controlled the direction of the fiery star. Once any Emperor God of the Witchcraft Association tried to escape, they would attack immediately. Woo woo woo. Xiao Lan let out a roar. At the same time, she sent a message to the other two Void God Abyss species. Even without Wang Xian's command, the Berserk Abyss species wanted to chase after them. When the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court heard Wang Xian, he held his breath and his eyes turned bloodshot. He knew Wang Xian's plan. Sky formation relied on this grotto heaven and had the geographical advantage to fight against the 4 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Association. Once they left this place, Sky Formation God Emperor wouldn't be able to fight against the 4 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Association. Locking the 4 of them here, the Dragon King and the other Emperor Gods would keep them in check. Below them, the members of the Abyss species and Dragon Palace could still hunt and kill the disciples of the Imperial Court. If they continued to chase after them, the disciples of the Imperial Court would suffer heavy losses. Go to hell. The Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court looked a little crazy as he attacked Wang Xian and the rest violently. Hee. Wang Xian laughed coldly. The group immediately went up to block him. Run, run, run. Hurry up and run. Below them, everyone from the Imperial Court and Witchcraft Association started to escape. Chase and kill. Prime Minister Turtle immediately gave the order to chase and roared loudly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. All the members of the Dragon Palace immediately attacked from behind. Countless Abyss species let out roars as they chased after them. Sorcerer Army, assist the people of the Imperial Court. As the Divine Flame Star helped the Sky Formation to hold back the 4 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Association, the experts of the Sorcerer Army were freed up. The leader of the Sorcerer Army pondered for a moment before giving an order. The Sorcerer Army was the strongest army of the Witchcraft Association. Those who could enter it were all array grandmasters. Among them, there were more than 10 peak Divine King experts. Thank you, experts of the Witchcraft Association. The Imperial Court is extremely grateful. In the sky, an Emperor God of the Imperial Court saw this and expressed his gratitude. Run, run, run. The Sorcerer Army can't keep protecting everyone in the Imperial Court. The leader of the Sorcerer Army shouted. Even without the suppression of the Divine Flame Star, as array masters, their combat power would be greatly reduced if they didn't have the geographical advantage. In fact, once the array masters got close to them, they could be easily killed by those of the same level. Secondly, there were too many Abyss species and too many powerful ones. When they fought with the Abyss species, the Dragon Palace didn't suffer much loss even if the Abyss species died. But their losses were real losses. Therefore, something unexpected happened. The Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Association started to flee. Please subscribe for support. Chapter 2820. There are 3 pinnacle Undying God King Abyss species here. They are too fast. Request for reinforcements. Oh no, the archers of the Dragon Palace are attacking us. Dodge, dodge. Use your God country to block. Even if your God country collapses, it's fine as long as you are alive. Hong hong hong. At the north of the Imperial Dynasty Island, the billions of Imperial Dynasty disciples and experts that came with a ferocious aura were almost crawling away. The Witchcraft Alliance was fine as they were all top experts. If they wanted to escape, it would be easy. But on the Imperial Dynasty side, 90% of them were God Master level experts. Facing the attacks of Dragon Palace and the Abyss species, they could only retreat bit by bit. The speed of his retreat was very, very slow. If not for the experts of the Witchcraft Alliance blocking most of the attacks, they wouldn't have been able to escape far. Even so, they would lose a large number of disciples and experts every time they escaped. This was a bloody path. Roar roar. In the sky above, the Imperial Dynasty Emperor Lord and the other 2 God Emperors roared in rage. When they were in the sky, they fought with Wang Xian and the others while retreating with the team. They looked down and their hearts were bleeding. At every moment, their experts and disciples were being hunted by the Abyss species and Dragon Palace. They found it hard to imagine how many experts and disciples of the Imperial Dynasty would be able to survive if they continued to hunt them down. Dragon Palace! Dragon Palace! Just you wait. The Imperial Dynasty Emperor Lord was filled with helplessness and rage as he roared. Hee hee. Wang Xian looked at his infuriated expression and sneered coldly. Winner takes all. If Dragon Palace lost, everyone in Dragon Palace would be wiped out. Even Yu Beichuan sect and the others would be wiped out. Now that they lost, they had to pay a heavy price. Wang Xian knew that they weren't the ones who started this war. As for how many people died, that was the decision of the Imperial Dynasty experts. In the sky above, the group of God Emperors fought as they retreated with the team from the Witchcraft Alliance. Wang Xian and the others knew that with their strength, they wouldn't be able to keep the group of God Emperors. They just had to pin them down, restrain them and hunt down the experts and disciples of the Imperial Court's Shaman Association. A vast war was slowly moving towards the north. This battle was no less tragic than the Battle of Di back then. Time passed bit by bit, and the bloody path continued to extend below. The fresh blood made countless abyssal species extremely excited. They were filled with killing intent as they chased after him. Imperial Dynasty's disciples and experts were quickly decreasing. The entire void was filled with the smell of blood. Not far behind them, the group of powerful disciples from the Moon sect, the Beichuan clan, stopped after following them for an hour. Gulp, who would have thought that this would happen? The Imperial Court and Success Shaman Association lost too badly. The Dragon Palace is too strong. The Imperial Court is about to be chased out of the Imperial Star region. They probably won't dare to enter the Imperial Star region in the future. Ha ha ha, sect leader, we're going to rise. We're going to be rich. The Imperial Court has fallen and a new king has risen. We're the subjects of the Dragon Palace. We're going to be rich. After the Imperial Court escapes, the Dragon Palace will take over the entire territory of the Imperial Court. There are only 400,000 to 500,000 members in the Dragon Palace. We've always been on the side of the Dragon Palace. We're the subjects of the Dragon Palace. With the birth of the new king, we'll rise completely. The people from the Moon sect, Beichuan clan, Ancient God Dynasty, Dragon Python group, and the other forces all stopped and swallowed their saliva. The group of experts roared excitedly. The Imperial Court had fallen and the new king of the Dragon Palace was born. As people who were on the same side of the Dragon Palace, as subjects of the Dragon Palace, they would also rise rapidly. In the future, with the protection of the Dragon Palace, who would dare to offend them in the entire Imperial Star region? Most importantly, with the Dragon Palace's strength, even the Abyss would have to bow down to them when they ascended to the throne. After the Abyss was stabilized, the entire Imperial Star region would no longer be in danger. Then, they would truly prosper. At the thought of this, all the people from the various forces were excited and thrilled. The Invincible army of the Imperial Court and the Witch Union has already passed by us for more than 10 hours. I wonder what the situation on the Imperial Court's island is like. The Witch Union doesn't seem to have many people, but their power is really terrifying. The Witch Union is much stronger than the Imperial Court. If they join forces, it'll be very easy to destroy the Dragon Palace. By now, the Dragon Palace might have already been defeated and destroyed. Yes, the two sides aren't even on the same level. Although the Dragon Palace is strong and can be called the 8th major force in the bedazzling star region, how can it resist the alliance of two major forces? At this time, on a planet in the north of the Imperial Court's territory, the entire planet was discussing the alliance of the Imperial Court and the Witch Union to attack the Dragon Palace. Especially when they saw the army of the Imperial Court and the Witch Union fly past them not long ago. They couldn't see the situation on the battlefield, but almost no one was optimistic about the Dragon Palace's chances. Few in the entire bedazzling star region could resist the alliance of two major forces. In their opinion, the Dragon Palace naturally couldn't resist either. The artificial intelligence system was also discussing the situation of the battle. Everyone was guessing. Almost 100% of the people didn't think the Dragon Palace would win. Boom boom boom. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Ah, ah, ah. All of a sudden, a terrifying sound rang out from the calm void. Terrifying collisions and violent roars filled with malevolent aura. Hurried shouts and screams could be heard. All sorts of noises came crashing towards this peaceful planet. At the same time, a wave of vast energy was charging towards them. Just the aftermath of that energy was enough to destroy a weak planet. What's going on? What's happening? Gosh, look. There are experts fighting over there. Terrifying experts are fighting. That's the people from the Imperial Court. That's the golden elephant from the Witch Union. Look up, it's the God Emperor fighting. The Imperial Court and the Witch Union are fighting with the abyss species of the Dragon Palace. No, it's the Imperial Court and the Witch Union who are on the run. Gosh, how is that possible? The Dragon Palace is chasing after the Witch Union and the Imperial Court. SSS, the Dragon Palace is chasing after two major forces. When the vast aura and all sorts of sounds came, some experts on the planet immediately flew into the void. When they saw what was happening on the other side, their eyes widened in disbelief. What did they see? The Dragon Palace was leading the abyss species to chase after the Imperial Court and the Witch Union. They were fleeing in defeat. How was that possible? Chapter 28-21, Worshipping the New King 1-inch Defend. Defend with all our might. Retreat. 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 Ah. Boom boom boom. On a planet in the north of the Imperial Dynasty, everyone looked to the right in a daze. The entire Imperial Dynasty had hundreds of billions of people and countless divine nations in the void. The sounds of fighting and killing could be heard incessantly. The vast army retreated towards the north. Behind them, Dragon Palace and abyss species were chasing. They could clearly see a streak of blood in the void. The entire team slowly disappeared into the north, disappearing from everyone's sight. How many God Emperors are fighting with the Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society God Emperors? Are they God Emperors from Dragon Palace? More than a dozen God Emperors. Dragon Palace has more than a dozen God Emperors. How is that possible? Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society lost. Dragon Palace chased them for billions of miles. Dragon Palace has more than a dozen God Emperors. Would anyone believe that? If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it either. In the sky above the planet, countless people stood there and shouted in shock. The scene just now was too shocking. Dragon Palace is going to rise. A new king is going to be born, an elder murmured. Our Imperial Star region is going to change. Imperial Dynasty has fallen and Dragon Palace has a new king. Dragon Palace has more than a dozen God Emperors. They fought against Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society alone and chased disciples of Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society for billions of miles. They are too powerful. SSS, the result of the war is out. Dragon Palace won and Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society fled. Who would have thought that this would happen? This is terrible. Dragon Palace is leading the abyss species to chase after the experts of Imperial Dynasty and Shaman Society. Very quickly, everyone on the planet uploaded the news to the artificial intelligence system in shock. Those who spread rumors should be killed. Even if you want to brag, you have to prepare. Do you know what it means to have more than a dozen God Emperors in Dragon Palace? Imperial Dynasty has existed for more than 600 million years and they only had 5 God Emperors at most. In the entire Imperial Star region, including history, there are less than 6 God Emperors. Phut, you're pretty good at lying. What kind of strength would a wizard have? How can the Dragon Palace be a match for them if they can fight against at least 2 people of the same level? Putting everything else aside, the fact that the Dragon Palace has more than a dozen Emperor gods is an exaggeration. No, it's an exaggeration. It's the Dragon Palace that's fleeing now, right? When this news was first transmitted to the artificial intelligence system, there was not the slightest change on the faces of those who saw this news. It was obvious that the news was fake. This guy was too good at bragging. In the billions of years of history of the Imperial Star region, there were less than 20 God Emperors. There were no more than 6 God Emperors present at the same time. You said the Dragon Palace has more than a dozen God Emperors? Who would believe that? This was too fake. Almost no one believed this news. Even after hundreds of millions of people replied to these messages, no one believed it. Because there were trillions of people in the Imperial Star region, hundreds of millions of people replying was equivalent to a few people replying to 10,000 people. Not many people believed it. This made everyone on that planet feel helpless. The scene just now was so shocking that they didn't have time to take photos or videos. However, within a few hours, this news appeared again. But this time, there was a clear video. In the video, in the sky, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace led more than a dozen Emperor gods to attack the Imperial Court Lord and the shamans of the Witch Association. Below, the experts of the Dragon Palace and countless abyss species were chasing after the fleeing experts and disciples of the Imperial Court and the Witch Association. In the video, they could clearly hear the screams and cries of killing. They could see a long trail of blood in the void. It was a bloody path of escape. When everyone saw the video, their bodies trembled and their faces were filled with disbelief. This is actually true. The Dragon Palace actually defeated the Imperial Court and the Sorcerer Association. Those are two peak forces. Hiss, the Dragon Palace has more than a dozen Emperor gods. That's two peak forces. The Dragon Palace has more than a dozen Emperor gods. That's more than a dozen. The Dragon Palace is heaven-defying. The Imperial Court and the others have fled. In the future, the Imperial Star region will belong to the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace is the king. Countless people widened their eyes and growled. They stared at the artificial intelligence system, their bodies trembling. The Dragon Palace defied the heavens and achieved the throne. They knew that the sky of the Imperial Star region was about to change. Everyone was amazed by the power of the Dragon Palace. To be able to fight against the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association alone, this power made one tremble. Time passed slowly. More and more news of the Dragon Palace hunting down the Imperial Court and the Shaman Guild came. They were all from some planets in the north of the Imperial Court's territory. More and more videos were posted on AI. This shocking scene caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Over the next 2 days, there were more and more of these videos. At this time, the people of the Imperial Star region also discovered that there were more and more of them. The Dragon Palace had led the abyss species to chase after the Imperial Court and the Witch Association. They had already chased after half of the Imperial Court. They chased after him for billions of miles. From the time the videos were released, everyone in the Imperial Star region could see that the number of strong disciples of the Imperial Court was decreasing rapidly. No one could imagine how many people the Imperial Court had lost in this battle. This path of escape was also known as the Bloody Path. According to the latest news, the entire Night Clan has fled to the south of Cold Night Island. They should have already escaped the Imperial Star region. Not long after, a piece of news came from Cold Night Island. Cold Night Island was the headquarters of the Night Clan. It was also a faction that had existed for hundreds of millions of years. Their ancestor was a god emperor. Not long ago, another god emperor had been born and pushed the Night Clan to the peak. However, because they had offended the Dragon King, the Arch-Knight god had become the fastest god emperor to fall. Now, after learning that the Dragon Palace had defeated the Witch Association and had more than a dozen god emperors, they had immediately fled. They knew that if they didn't flee, they might be killed. After all, the Arch-Knight god had killed the Dragon King's disciple. Once this news came out, everyone could feel that the sky of the Imperial Star region had really changed. The Dragon Palace would be the master of the Imperial Star region in the future. With more than a dozen god emperors, the Dragon Palace would have prestige that would far surpass the Imperial Court. Looking at the Imperial Star region, who would dare to disobey? Order all the experts of the large sects to bring most of the treasures in our treasury to the center of the Imperial Court Island and prepare to greet the new king. Bring all the disciples and gifts. Our Broken Sky sect will immediately head to the Imperial Court Island to greet the new king. On the Evil Demon Island, the two large sects, the Nine Firmaments and Broken Sky sect, saw the videos. They couldn't sit still anymore. They immediately brought large amounts of treasures to the Imperial Court Island. To greet the new king. Chapter 28-22. According to the news from the Demon Islands, the Nine Heavens sect, the Heaven-Shattering sect, and the other factions on the Demon Islands are heading to the Monarch Court Island to welcome the Dragon King and the others, and to pay their respects to the new emperor. Within the Imperial Court's territory, Some consul who weren't taken away by the Imperial Court are heading to the Imperial Court's islands. They're probably going to meet the new king. The Imperial Star region has completely changed. I think all the powerful forces will have to pay a visit to the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace is too strong. They have 12 god emperors. If the Dragon Palace wants to unify the entire Imperial Star region, no force would dare to oppose it. This is a position that was won with strength. Now, who would dare to be arrogant in front of the Dragon Palace? The news of Zhu Xiaotian shattering and the other factions heading to the Imperial Court's island was immediately sent to the AI. No one else in the Imperial Star region was surprised by their actions. The current Dragon Palace was too terrifying. After the Imperial Court and the Witch Association were chased by the Dragon Palace and fled to the Heaven Witch territory, which force in the entire Imperial Star region would dare to jump around in front of the Dragon Palace? The Night Clan on the Cold Night Island fled in fear. The other forces did not offend the Dragon Palace, so they naturally went to curry favor with it. Otherwise, the Dragon Palace could easily send a God Emperor to annihilate a sect in the future. Stop. While the entire Imperial Star Domain was in an uproar and shocked, Wang Xian, who was in the void of the Imperial Star Domain, stared ahead and said. They had been chasing for 4 days, and during these 4 days, many Imperial Dynasty experts had died. The weaklings of the Imperial Dynasty were basically all killed. From the center of the Imperial Court Island to here, if they continued to chase, they might reach the Heavenly Witch Domain. After 4 days of chasing, only the Imperial Dynasty experts survived. Even the weaker ones were now in the divine kingdoms of these powerhouses. If he continued to chase after them, he wouldn't be able to kill too many people. As soon as he finished his sentence, the members of Dragon Palace stopped their attacks. Roving Heavens, Roving Xingmu and the rest also stopped pestering the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court. Hoo. Seeing Wang Xian and the rest stop, the Emperor panted heavily and stared at Wang Xian with his blood-red eyes. Hehe, what's the use of staring at me? Didn't I chase you for 4 days? You still have to get out of the Imperial Star Zone and become a stray dog. He looked at the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court and said mockingly. Hoo. The Emperor of the Imperial Court clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He didn't say anything. Because in these 4 days, he had gone berserk and angry. But it was all to no avail. Woo. At the side, Little Blue and the Emperor God Abyssal Seed roared, and all the other Abyssal Seeds stopped attacking. Hoo. Finally, I survived. They stopped chasing. At the front, all the experts and disciples of the Imperial Court only dared to turn around and shout in fear when they saw that the Abyss species and the Dragon Palace had stopped their attacks and continued flying forward for a few minutes. Their gazes swept across their companions, and their bodies trembled slightly. These 4 days were hell for them. None of them would ever forget what had happened in the past 4 days. I'm warning the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association. In the future, the Imperial Star Zone will be the territory of the Dragon Palace. Anyone who trespasses will be killed without mercy. Ha, let's go. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings and let out a hearty laugh. Then, he flew towards the back. He was just saying it casually. In the future, when the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association had the strength, they would definitely attack. However, before that, the Dragon Palace might attack the Sky Shaman region in advance. He turned and flew out, and all the members of the Dragon Palace followed behind. Countless Abyss species roared and followed behind. Behind, everyone from the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association trembled as they watched the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King leave. Their eyes were filled with a deep hatred of blood. Emperor Lord, let's go back. We need to discuss some things at length. The sorcerer's eyes flickered as he watched the people from the Dragon Palace leave. This was their first battle with the Dragon Palace and the Sky Formation God Emperor, and they had lost the first battle. Not long in the future, there would be another battle, a decisive battle. At that time, either the Shaman Association would perish, or the Dragon Palace and the Sky Formation God Emperor would perish. As the leader of an apex force, he knew this wasn't the time to be frustrated or afraid. Instead, he had to prepare for revenge at all cost. Let's go. The emperor of the imperial court closed his eyes and hesitated for a few seconds before opening them and replying expressionlessly. They were all top geniuses and legendary existences in this dazzling starry sky. They had their own tenacity and temperament. Everyone from the imperial court followed the shaman association to the sky shaman region. This also represented the complete alliance between the two major forces. Perhaps they would only end their alliance after the Dragon Palace was destroyed. Dragon King, the entire imperial court and the entire imperial star region will belong to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle roared with excitement and agitation in the starry sky. Yes, the entire imperial court and the entire imperial star region will belong to the Dragon Palace. At this moment, Wang Xian was in high spirits. This was the entire imperial star region. Even if he flew from the east to the west, it would take him a few months to cover such a vast region. Such a vast starry sky was all the territory of the Dragon Palace. In the past, the Dragon Palace controlled an ocean. Now, it was a sea of stars. Qingyu, let Xiaolan and the rest send the abyss species into the abyss. Tell them that the abyss is their territory now, and they are forbidden from invading other places. Wang Xian looked at Qingyu and instructed her. Yes, Xiao Xian. Lan Qingyu nodded. Wang Xian did not kill all the abyss species. Although they had no intelligence and only knew how to kill, they were still comrades in the two wars. Although he could obtain a lot of resources by killing them, he did not do so. An enemy was an enemy. No matter how holy or kind the other party was, an enemy was an enemy. A friend was a friend, even if the other party had no intelligence. Let's go back to the Dragon Palace immediately, Wang Xian said to all the members of the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. The group of disciples of the Dragon Palace roared excitedly and disappeared instantly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next moment, everyone returned to the main Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle, move the main Dragon Palace to the ocean on the island of the Imperial Court and start counting the spoils of war. Wang Xian ordered Prime Minister Turtle after returning to the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Wang Xian moved and arrived at the Dragon Palace on the central island of the Imperial Court through the teleportation formation. Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian. As soon as he arrived, a group of girls sensed his aura. They flew over and shouted happily. Great victory, ladies. From now on, the entire Imperial Court and the entire Imperial Star region will be the territory of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian spread his arms and said happily. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Please collect those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. The Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System is updated the fastest in the mobile game bar. Chapter 28-23. Great. The girls' faces were filled with excitement. They were already very happy that the entire Imperial Court Island belonged to the Dragon Palace, not to mention the entire Imperial Star region. Ha ha ha, Your Majesty the Great Dragon King, when the Dragon Palace controls the Imperial Star region in the future, can you give me a high position? Give me some titles. For example, the Star Goddess of the Imperial Star Domain, the little goddess who is as beautiful as a fairy, the most beautiful female singer in the Imperial Star Domain, the lovable and adorable Imperial Star Daughter. The Emperor Star Princess said excitedly. The Imperial Court had been defeated, the Dragon Palace had become the king, and the Imperial Star region belonged to the Dragon Palace. Who in the Imperial Star region would dare to provoke her, the Emperor Star Daughter? In the future, she could do whatever she wanted. Hee hee. Wang Xian looked at her and smiled. That will depend on your performance. Dragon King, the Nine Heavens Great Sect and Heaven-Shattering Great Sect are requesting an audience. At this time, a civil servant of the Dragon Palace suddenly flew over and reported to Wang Xian. Alright, let's deal with some business first. Once we're done, we'll have time to wander around the Imperial Star region, said Wang Xian to the girls. Yes, we have to. There are too few people on the Imperial Court Island. We have to import all the famous food and clothing from the Imperial Star region. Feng Luan said with a smile. Right, Right, let's make the Imperial Court Island more lively. The girls immediately said with anticipation. As an Imperial Court Island, as long as the Dragon Palace gave the word, countless people would swarm over. After all, as the center of the Imperial Star region, the resources, spirit chi, and living conditions here were the best in the entire Imperial Star region. In the past, those who wanted to enter the Imperial Court Island were either disciples of the Imperial Court or experts. Crash. As the group spoke, Wang Xian and the rest flew out of the sea. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surrounding mountains and rivers with a smile on his face. In the future, this will no longer be the Imperial Court Island, but the Dragon Island, he said with a smile on his face. Let's go and take a look. Wang Xian was all smiles as he flew towards the center of the vast palace. Dragon King. As soon as they arrived above the vast palace, Tianjin greeted them with a smile. How are the people from the Witchcraft Association? He asked with a smile. On the third day of your pursuit, Dragon King, they teleported back to their own divine kingdom. Tianjin said with a smile. Dragon King, a group of forces wants to pay a visit to Dragon King. They say that they will be loyal to Dragon Palace in the future and listen to our orders. They have brought a lot of treasures and are waiting in front. Tianjin came to Wang Xian's side and continued. Let's go and take a look. We don't have many people on Dragon Island now. Let's lure some people over and let them manage it. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly, after which, he looked at Feng Luan and the other girls. From now on, you guys will be in charge of managing Dragon Island and even the Imperial Star region. You guys can do whatever you want, he said with a smile. Wang Xian did not want to ask any questions. Moreover, Feng Luan was once an empress. It shouldn't be a problem for her to manage some matters. Although the current domain was hundreds of millions or even billions of times more powerful than before, it was still far more powerful than before. But they could manage it however they wanted. Who would have a problem with that? All right. The girls nodded happily. It was fun to be a dignified hostess once in a while. Wow, Qingyu Yinxian, give me a few hundred titles when the time comes, ha ha ha. The Emperor Star Lady's exaggerated and excited laughter could be heard. Dragon Island is a good name. It's good to let the Dragon Queens manage the Imperial Star region in the future. Tianjin smiled and sucked up to them. He was in a good mood. Now that he had recovered more than half of his strength and defeated the Witchcraft Association, he was elated. As long as his strength recovered to its peak, and the Dragon Palace's strength increased a little, he would be able to attack the Witchcraft Association, eliminate the traitors, and annihilate that group of people. Dragon King, rumble. In front, a huge door was pushed open by the members of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian and the rest walked over. The entire vast palace was tens of thousands of meters tall. Walking in here was extremely awe-inspiring. The floor, the walls, every inch, and every building was filled with art and luxury. The Dragon King is here. The Dragon King and the rest are here. Even the Sky Array God Emperor is here. At this time, in a public square in front of the vast palace, tens of millions of experts and disciples stood there. In the center, experts and disciples from the Crescent Sect, North Chuan Sect, Dragon Python Group, and Ancient God Dynasty stood there. On both sides, experts and disciples from the Nine Heavens Heaven-Breaking Sect and other forces stood there. Seeing the Dragon King and the rest coming over, they were all in awe. Defeating the Imperial Court, resisting the Witchcraft Association, and chasing the Witchcraft Association for hundreds of millions of kilometers. To them, the current Dragon Palace was invincible. Facing such an invincible existence, they did not dare to be impudent or disrespectful. Greetings, Dragon King. Congratulations to the Dragon Palace for controlling the Imperial Star region. Greetings, Dragon King. Congratulations to the Dragon Palace for controlling the Imperial Star region. When Wang Xian and the rest came to the front, the experts from the Crescent Sect, the Nine Heavens Sect, and the Heavens Heaven-Breaking Sect knelt on the ground and shouted. Behind them, all the disciples quickly knelt on the ground and paid their respect. Kneeling and paying their respect. Even the two old ancestors of the Nine Heavens Sect, peak divine king existences. Even at this moment, they did not have the slightest dissatisfaction. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace was worthy of such respect. Rise. Wang Xian swept his gaze across all of them. With a wave of his arm, a mighty force made them all stand up. Thank you, Dragon King. Everyone immediately stood up respectfully. Reporting to the Dragon King, the Nine Heavens sect is willing to listen to the Dragon Palace's orders in the future. Today, we will contribute half of the Nine Heavens treasure vault. The old ancestors of the Nine Heavens sect said respectfully as soon as they stood up. Reporting to the Dragon King, the Heavens Heaven-breaking sect will definitely listen to the Dragon King's orders in the future. We will contribute millions of years of accumulation. Congratulations to the Dragon Palace for defeating the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Association. Congratulations to the Dragon King for becoming an emperor. Congratulations to the Dragon Palace for controlling the Imperial Star region. The sect leader of the Heavens Heaven-breaking sect and the rest immediately stood up and said respectfully, "All right, thank you for your kind intentions." Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. The Nine Heavens Heaven-breaking sect had no grudges with the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace would naturally accept their surrender. Now that the Imperial Court Island is controlled by the Dragon Palace, there will be no more Imperial Court Island in the future. It will be changed to the Dragon Island. The Dragon Island is huge, but there are only 400,000 to 500,000 disciples in the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace will accept a batch of people into the Dragon Island. Beichuan Sect, Moon Sect, Ancient God Dynasty, Dragon Python Group, move your disciples here. Nine Heavens Heaven-breaking sect and the rest of the forces, move your disciples here as well. We will discuss the details later. Wang Xian said plainly. Thank you, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. Hearing Wang Xian's words, everyone quickly knelt on the ground and bowed again with excitement. Chapter 28-24. King of Bison 4-inch. From today onwards, Imperial Court Island will be changed to Dragon Island. From today onwards, there will be no more Imperial Court Island. All disciples of the North River Sect, Moon Sect, Ancient God Dynasty, and Dragon Python Corporation will move to Dragon Island. In the future, they will assist the Dragon Queen in managing the Imperial Star region. The elite core disciples of the Nine Heavens Shattering Heavens and the other factions can also settle down on the Dragon Island. The Dragon Palace will be recruiting talented people to settle on the Dragon Island. Soon, a few messages came from the Dragon Palace on the AI. First, no one in the Imperial Star region was surprised that the Imperial Court Island had been renamed to Dragon Island. After all, the Imperial dynasty had been defeated and the Dragon Palace had taken over all the territories of the Imperial dynasty. They couldn't use the name of the Imperial Dynasty Island. The next few messages made everyone extremely envious. However, the last piece of information also caused many people's hearts to burn with passion. The great sects of the Moon, the North River Sect, the Ancient God Dynasty, and the Dragon Python Corporation have won the bet. They have always been on the side of the Dragon Palace. They are the subjects of the dragon. Now, all their disciples can settle on the Dragon Island. This is like reaching the heavens in a single bound. Zhu Xiaotian's group is not bad either. All of their elite core disciples can live on Dragon Island. You should know that Dragon Island is the most abundant spiritual energy in the entire Imperial Star region. The entire Dragon Palace seems to have only 400,000 to 500,000 members. The entire Dragon Island can accommodate at least a few 100 billion people. I really envy Beichuan Zong and the others. I heard from the disciples of the Beichuan sect that the Dragon King will not be managing the Imperial Star region in the future. Instead, it will be handed over to the Dragon Queens of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace is recruiting talented people. I heard that these talented people are from all walks of life and are good at cooking food. They will also have the opportunity to settle on the Dragon Island. I'm preparing to go to the Dragon Island. There are a lot of places to live on the Dragon Island. I hope to settle down there. It's the core of the entire Imperial Star region. After the shock of the Dragon Palace defeating the Imperial Court and the Sorcerer Association, everyone started discussing the Dragon Palace's next move. These decisions and actions concerned the fate of many people in the Imperial Star region. Especially after these few pieces of news came out, the entire AI system was discussing it. Many wealthy merchants and experts felt a burning desire in their hearts. They wanted to settle down on the Dragon Island. Do whatever you want. It had been 3 days since the last visit from the various forces. In a vast palace on the Dragon Island, Wang Xian was a little speechless as he spoke to the group of girls in front of him. He. Then let's rebuild the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty and make our divine dynasty famous in the Imperial Star Domain, Guan Shuqing and the others said excitedly. In front of them were the sect master of Beichuan sect, the patriarch of the Moon sect, and the experts of the Dragon Python group of the ancient God Dynasty. Something that none of them had expected happened. They all knew that there were only hundreds of thousands of disciples in Dragon Palace. They thought that the Dragon Palace would recruit experts, but it turned out that it did not. Furthermore, in the future, the Dragon King would no longer care about the Imperial Star region or the matters of the Dragon Islands. He would leave them to the Dragon Queens. The behavior of the Dragon Queens left them at a loss as to what to do. The Dragon Queens were preparing to establish a divine dynasty, the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty. Build a divine dynasty? Now, forces at the level of the Moon sect were no longer constrained by the titles of sects, divine dynasties, and corporations. Instead, he went straight to the moon, 9 firmaments, and heaven-shattering. However, the Dragon Queens were going to establish a divine dynasty. The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty had a group of Dragon Queens as its empress. If the Dragon Queens want to establish a divine dynasty, we are willing to join the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty and follow the orders of the Dragon Queens. However, the experts of the Moon sect immediately said with a smile, "What a joke." The Dragon Queens were building a divine dynasty on Dragon Island in the Imperial Star region. What was wrong with that? The Dragon Queens, especially Dragon Queen Lan Qingyu, had 2 God Emperor-level battle pets. The rest of the Dragon Queens and the God Emperors of the Dragon Palace also bowed respectfully. They had thought that the Sky Array God Emperor, as a great emperor who had fallen millions of years ago, would have a similar status as the Dragon King. They thought that he would join the Dragon Palace as a form of cooperation. But then they realized that they were wrong. The Sky Array God was a member of the Dragon Palace, a subordinate of the Dragon King. His status might be high, but not as high as the Dragon Queens. Putting everything else aside, who would object when the Dragon Queens said that they wanted to establish a divine dynasty and control the Imperial Star region? Who would dare to object? Moreover, if the 9 firmaments heaven-shattering sect knew about the divine dynasty the Dragon Queens were going to establish, they would want to kneel and lick their boots. Naturally, they would not let go of this opportunity. All right, since you have taken over the territory of the Imperial Court, you must manage it well. The Dragon Palace cannot send anyone to manage it. You will be in charge of some issues. When Feng Luan heard their words, she immediately nodded. It was difficult to manage such a huge territory, but fortunately, they only needed to follow the rules of the Imperial Court. With a complete set of laws, there was no need for them to waste their energy. They just needed to supervise. Sister Feng Luan, I also want the title of Empress. How about Star Empress? At this moment, the Emperor Star Princess suddenly said, "No, you're too weak." Without waiting for Feng Luan to respond, Wang Xian spoke up. Feng Luan, Guan Shuqing, and the rest had the combat power of a 9th-order immortal god king. It was fine for them to call themselves Empress. But the Emperor Star Princess was only a 1st-order immortal god king. She was going to call herself Empress just like that. Why can't I? Can't you just increase my strength a little? The Emperor Star Princess said unhappily. Sure. We just need to agree. We'll get Xiao Xian to increase your strength in a few days. Lan Qingyu and Tang Yinxian held onto the Emperor Star Princess's arm and smiled. He. Qingyu and Yinxian are the best. The Emperor Star Princess said happily. Bei Shuang, are you coming too? Feng Luan smiled at Bei Shuang. It's all right, mistress. I won't be joining in the fun. Bei Shuang shook her head and smiled. Old ancestor Yu, clan leader Bei Chuan, and the rest of the experts twitched their mouths. It was no exaggeration to say that the Dragon Palace's influence had enveloped the entire imperial star domain. Now that the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty was established, it meant that the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty was in charge of the imperial star domain. The highest authority of such a force was being treated like a child's play. Making the Emperor Star Princess the Empress? Many people in the imperial star domain knew the Emperor Star Princess. She was only a first-order immortal god king, and she wanted to be the Empress. What else could they say? They could only say that the Empress was devastatingly beautiful. It couldn't be helped. With the Dragon Palace behind her, there wouldn't be any problems even if the Dragon Queens caused trouble. After all, the might of the Dragon Palace had suppressed the entire void. Chapter 28-25. The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty has been established. From today on, the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty will take over all the planets within the Imperial Court's territory and oversee the entire Imperial Star Domain. A month later, the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty will hold its founding ceremony. The Imperial Star Domain had calmed down after the war. Amidst the silence, everyone was waiting for news from Dragon Island. This news might concern many people and hundreds of billions of habitable planets. Not long after, a statement came from the Dragon Palace. When everyone saw the news, they were slightly stunned. What's going on? Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty? The Dragon Palace has established a dynasty? What's going on? Why did the Dragon Palace establish a force? Looking at this announcement, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. What was going on with the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty? The Dragon King doesn't manage the Imperial Star Domain. The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty was established by a group of Dragon Queens. The Moon Sect, the Nine Clouds Sect, the Heaven-Breaking Sect, the North Stream Sect, the Dragon Python Group, and the Ancient God Dynasty have all joined the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty to assist the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty. The Dragon Queen will hold the founding ceremony in a month. The Dragon King seems to have something to announce then. Soon, some news came from the North Stream Sect and the Moon Sect. The Dragon Queen is the Dragon Queen. Our Imperial Star Domain is being taken over by the Dragon Queen. This is the first time in the history of the Imperial Star Domain is being controlled by a woman. I guess the Dragon Queen doesn't want to be in charge, so the Dragon Queen established the dynasty. But I really envy the Dragon Queen of the Dragon Palace. She's the Empress of the Imperial Star Domain. The Dragon Queen of the Dragon Palace is a top expert. After all, they are the Dragon King's women. Also, you should know that the Dragon Queen in the Abyss has 2 Emperor-level battle pets. Her strength is unfathomable. The founding ceremony will be held in a month. All the rulers of the planets will be there to pay their respects. I wonder if we can make it. Everyone was talking about it when the news came out. The rulers of some planets and some small forces immediately prepared to go to the Dragon Island. Prime Minister Turtle, how was the battle? At the same time, in the main Dragon Palace on the Dragon Island. Wang Xian had just moved the main Dragon Palace from the Abyss to this place. He had been busy for the past few days, so he had yet to understand what he had gained from the battle with the Imperial Court Witchcraft Association. Dragon King, we didn't get much this time. There are only 11 undying God King corpses. However, in this battle, we obtained a few treasures: the Divine Flame Star, the Heaven and Earth Divine 3 Nets, and the Supremacist Scar. The Supremacist Scar is currently in the Heaven formation, and he is currently studying it. Prime Minister Turtle immediately reported. 11. That's enough to increase the fighting power of 1 Emperor God. These treasures are equivalent to the fighting power of 4 Emperor Gods. Wang Xian smiled. Compared to the battle in the Abyss, his gains were much lesser. However, this was still a considerable harvest. Take out some resources to raise the Emperor Star Maiden's strength to the 9th Order Immortal God King realm. The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty is established, and she can't be too weak as an empress. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Do you have a rough estimate of the development of the domain and the income of resources? Wang Xian asked after pondering for a moment. Now, he had taken over the entire Imperial Star region and controlled hundreds of billions of habitable planets. These habitable planets were an enormous source of resources. Just the taxes alone were a considerable amount of resources. It's only a rough estimate. However, just a day's worth of taxes is a terrifying figure. A day's worth of resources is enough to raise 1,000 Dragon Palace members to the Emperor God realm. In addition, the Imperial Court didn't take the main server of the artificial intelligence system away. The Heavenly Array changed the core data and took over the artificial intelligence system. This amount of resources is comparable to a day's worth of taxes. Prime Minister Turtle said. In other words, a day's worth of resources can raise the Dragon Palace by 2,000 Emperor Gods. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and revealed a smile on his face. Yes, Dragon King. This is just a conservative estimate. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. It seems like the Dragon Palace will have to add more members this time. Wang Xian said with a smile. Yes, Dragon King. I suggest doubling the number of members of the Dragon Palace to 1 million. With our current power and influence, it will be easy for us to recruit talented disciples, said Wang Xian. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. As long as the Dragon Palace announced the recruitment, all the marine creatures in the entire Imperial Star region would swarm over. We'll announce it at the establishment ceremony of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. After reporting a few more questions, he immediately left. Wang Xian moved and came to the office of the future Empress of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty. The girls were looking at the map and discussing some issues of the Imperial Star region. They didn't even pay much attention to his arrival. He smiled after seeing them. It's good to find something for them to do. As the days passed, the Dragon Island became more and more lively. Last month, the migration of all the disciples from Beichuan sect made the Dragon Island no longer empty. More and more people came from other planets in the Imperial Star region to attend the establishment ceremony of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty. With so many habitable planets, the entire planet would be very lively if only a few hundred people came to each planet. Later on, if not for the restriction of entry, the Dragon Island might have been congested. Wang Xian was happy to see such a lively scene. The girls were busy all day, preparing for the establishment ceremony of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty. Wang Xian, on the other hand, was free. He strolled around the Dragon Island and studied the treasures with the heavenly formation. The treasure he got from the Witchcraft Association, the Mark of the Venerable One. In the words of the heavenly formation, this was a very precious treasure. The Mark of a Venerable, its material is a treasure refined from the skin of a universe warrior. The Mark of the Venerable One was the skin of a Venerable One. That was a realm above the Void God Emperor. An expert of this level was still a little far from the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, tomorrow is the establishment ceremony of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty. Do you want to make some preparations? Prime Minister Turtle informed him of a month's time soon passed. So soon? How are the preparations on Shuqing's side? Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He forgot about the time and asked with a smile. Dragon King, the Dragon Queen is ready. The Dragon Guards of the Dragon Palace and the Heaven's Eye Arrow Unit have been assigned by the Dragon Queen to be her guards. Orokai and the rest have also been asked by the Dragon Queen to support the scene, Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. Hehe, we'll be the last to go tomorrow. Let them enjoy being an empress. Wang Xian said with a smile. Chapter 28-26. The ceremony below the establishment ceremony of the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty is about to begin. It's about to begin. The vast palace is open. This is my first time here. I feel so tiny in front of it. Everyone, please enter. Don't make any noise. Otherwise, you will be punished for contempt. The next morning was also known as the first day of the Dragon and Phoenix calendar in the Imperial Star region, the day of the establishment ceremony. Countless experts and forces from the Imperial Star region walked into the vast palace in front of the inner island of the Dragon Island. Everyone was dressed extravagantly. Not a single one of them was an ordinary person. Zhu Xiaotian and Yu Guang, who were standing on both sides, reminded everyone. The slightly noisy voices disappeared, and everyone looked around, their faces filled with shock. In the past, They weren't qualified to enter the vast palace. Now that they were standing on the path of the vast palace, they felt extremely tiny. About a few billion people walked in with a hint of shock, a hint of curiosity, and a hint of awe. The establishment ceremony of the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty was broadcasted live by the artificial intelligence system. Only billions of people were qualified to enter the vast palace and watch it in person. Billions of people walked through a large gate. In front of them was a large square. At the front of the square were 9 incomparably huge pillars. Divine dragons of different attributes occupied the pillars. Each pillar was 100,000 meters tall and pierced through the clouds. It looked majestic and spectacular. The most elite disciples of Zhu Xiao and the other forces were lined up neatly around the square. All of their God-King powerhouses were present. They were dressed neatly with the words Dragon and Phoenix written on their chests. The powerful aura caused everyone's heart to tremble slightly. After all, Zhu Xiaotian and Yu Guang were the 3 most powerful forces in the Imperial Star region. However, a row of swordsmen stood neatly at the front. The golden sword had an expressionless face, and a cold aura emanated from its body. Behind them, there was another group of people. They had long arms and carried longbows on their backs. Their gazes were incomparably sharp. That's an expert from Dragon Palace. Such a cold aura. It's the Dragon Guards of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Guards are the personal guards of the Dragon King. Those archers are the arrow department of the Dragon Palace. Every member of the arrow department is an expert above the God King realm. Every archer can instantly kill enemies within 100 million kilometers. When the chasm battlefield broke out, the arrow department of the Dragon Palace killed countless abyss species. This is the elite power of the Dragon Palace, the power to defeat the Imperial Court Witches Association. Just that aura alone is terrifying. When everyone slowly entered the square, they were slightly taken aback when they saw the Dragon Guards and the members of the Heaven's Eye Arrow unit. Stand properly. Right at this moment, a voice that contained boundless dignity resounded in the minds of every single one of them. Everyone couldn't help but shiver slightly, and they opened their eyes wide while extreme terror filled their hearts. This was the voice of the God Emperor. Everyone turned to look at the source of the voice, their eyes filled with awe. There were 11 chairs placed in the center, and 2 old men stood on either side of the 11 chairs. They were dressed meticulously in black divine dragon attire. They stood there quietly, and one look at them would make one's heart palpitate and panic. God King experts couldn't give people this kind of feeling. 2 God Emperors. 2 God Emperors of the Dragon Palace. Everyone's pupils shrank slightly, and they hurriedly stood neatly in order, not daring to move. What a joke. Even if the God Emperor didn't look over, he could still know what everyone was doing. Everyone was present, and they stood there quietly. The scene in the square was also displayed on the artificial intelligence system. Countless people were staring at the artificial intelligence system. As the founding ceremony of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty, as the future master of the entire Imperial Star region, they were naturally very concerned. Stand properly. Stand properly. At this moment, the screen on the artificial intelligence system was filled with these 4 words. The screen was filled with these 4 words. Because these 4 words were also the 4 words that Orokai had said. The people of the Imperial Star region could also tell that this was the God Emperor. Woo woo. Woo woo. Time passed bit by bit. Everyone stood there, not daring to speak. 5 minutes later, there was a roar. It was vast and majestic. Everyone heard this sound and looked at the sky in unison. The voice was filled with joy. No one doubted that if this voice was filled with violence and anger, they would be killed by this voice. 2 behemoths appeared. One was more than 100 kilometers long, and the other was 70 or 80 kilometers long. They were real star beasts. Many people hadn't seen Little Blue and Little Mansion before. When they saw the 2 beasts that could cover the sky, their eyes widened in shock. Little Blue and Little Mansion appeared, and they quickly arrived in the sky above the palace in front of the square. Oh my God, are those the 2 battle pets of the Dragon Queen? This beast can kill all of us with a sneeze, right? Some people couldn't help but growl. They also widened their eyes in front of the artificial intelligence system. Even though they weren't there to see it, they could feel the vastness and savageness of the beast through the artificial intelligence system. The Dragon Queen is on that beast. At this moment, everyone saw 10 beautiful figures standing on the beast. Buzz. Buzz. In the next moment, 10 figures floated in the air and flew towards the location below. Phoenix robes. The 10 figures were dressed in phoenix robes, exuding a noble and holy aura. At the same time, they were also giving off a powerful aura. That was the aura of a peak stage god king or a ninth order god king. The 10 figures landed in front of the phoenix chairs in front of the square. Welcome to the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty's founding ceremony. Feng Luan glanced at everyone in front of her. She had the demeanor of a female empress as she took 2 steps forward and said, "The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty will take over all the territories of the Imperial Court, including the Pingy Island, the Cold Night Island and the Demon Island. The Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty will set up 11 female empresses to manage the Imperial Star region together." Feng Luan introduced the entire Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty and announced one thing after another. When everyone heard that the Dragon Phoenix God Dynasty had set up 11 female empresses, they were slightly surprised. That's the Emperor Star Lady, that's the Star Goddess. Soon, many people in the Imperial Court realized that the former Star Goddess was also one of the female empresses. SSS, do you feel the power of the Star Goddess? What realm is that? It's so terrifying. She's a ninth order god king, a ninth order god king. How old is the Star Goddess? How could she have such terrifying power? Soon, people noticed the Emperor Star Lady's power and were filled with disbelief. Chapter 28-27, the Emperor Star Lady's strength has actually reached the ninth order god king realm. How is this possible? A month ago, she was clearly only a first order god king realm cultivator. So terrifying, so terrifying. Did the Dragon King help her raise her strength? That's far too monstrous. In just a month, he has surpassed the strength that many god kings could not achieve even after cultivating for millions of years or even millions of years. In the surroundings of the plaza, the old ancestors of the Northern Stream sect and the other factions felt the Emperor Star Lady's strength. Their eyes widened in shock. A month ago, they clearly knew that the Emperor Star Lady was only a first-order god king. But now, she had reached the ninth order god king realm? Wasn't this increase in strength too terrifying? Many experts couldn't even reach the ninth order god king realm after millions of years of cultivation. But now, she had reached such a terrifying level in a month. Was this the strength of the Dragon Palace? Was this the reason why the Dragon Palace could rise so quickly? But this was too heaven-defying. In the plaza, everyone in the Imperial Star region was also shocked. 10 of the 11 empresses had arrived, and the weakest among them was a ninth order god king. Such strength was worthy of the title of Empress in the current Imperial Star domain. Initially, he didn't take the Empress seriously and thought that she had relied on the Dragon King to become the Empress, but now, he completely dispelled that thought. She's indeed the Dragon King's woman. There's no one more noble and pure than the Empress in the entire Imperial Star domain. She's too beautiful. She's like a fairy from the 9 heavens. We can only look at her from afar in awe. The Empresses are so beautiful. They must be kind-hearted. Our lives will be better in the future. The citizens of the Imperial Star domain started to bootlick the Empresses. Perhaps it wasn't bootlick either. This was what they thought from the bottom of their hearts. After all, to them, such a pure and noble goddess must be perfect. Boom boom boom. Dazzling fireworks bloomed in the sky above the Dragon Island. The fireworks in the shape of dragons and phoenixes bloomed in the sky for a long time. Wang, Guan Shuqing, Feng Luan, Lan Qingyu, and the rest of the girls stood on the 11 seats at the front of the ceremony. They were all smiles as they looked forward. At this time, Wang Xian walked to the side and the girls stood up with a smile. "I have something to announce," said Wang Xian to the group of girls as he looked at everyone in the public square. "The Dragon King is here. Greetings, Dragon King. Greetings, Dragon King." Upon seeing Wang Xian, everyone immediately greeted him respectfully. Compared to the Empress, the Dragon King was still the most dignified and powerful in their hearts. "All right, I have something to announce today. The Dragon Palace will be recruiting a new batch of members. Only those with the bloodline of the Water Tribe will be recruited. Soon, the Dragon Palace will be built in the oceans. Those who pass the Dragon Gate of the Dragon Palace will become a disciple of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian announced plainly to them. As soon as he finished his words, Wang Xian disappeared. What? The Dragon Palace is expanding its members? Why? Why only the members of the water race are recruited? Why? Hiss, this is good news for the heavenly demons of the Water Tribe. Once they join the Dragon Palace, it will be like a meteoric rise. Currently, the Dragon Palace only has 400,000 to 500,000 members. The members of the Dragon Palace are all God Kings. Once you join the Dragon Palace, you will definitely become a God King and become an existence that can shake the entire Imperial Star region. Why don't we recruit humans? Why? Ha ha ha, spring is here for the heavenly demons of the Water Tribe. I want to challenge the Dragon Gate. I want to join the Dragon Palace. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened when they heard Wang Xian's words. Countless humans wailed and countless Water Tribe were in an uproar. Join the Dragon Palace. What kind of existence was the Dragon Palace now? It had defeated the alliance of the Imperial Court and the Witch Association and was a top force in the resplendent starry sky. Not long ago, many people were praying for the Dragon Palace to recruit disciples. Now that the Dragon Palace was recruiting disciples, it was a pity that they were only recruiting the Water Tribe. This made many humans feel indignant and wanted to vomit blood. But to the Water Tribe, this was good news. Who would have thought that the Dragon Palace would only recruit members of the Water Tribe? If they could pass the Dragon Gate, it would be like a meteoric rise. The entire Imperial Star region was in an uproar. Countless heavenly demons of the Water Tribe were rubbing their palms in excitement. It was time for the Water Tribe to make a comeback. Wang Xian ignored the commotion in the outside world. He was prepared to spread the Dragon Palace throughout the entire Imperial Star region in the next few years. The establishment ceremony of the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty ended under the attention of the entire Imperial Star region. The topic of the Imperial Court's 11 empresses and the Emperor Star Lady becoming the Empress exploded. Only 10 of the 11 empresses were present. Who was the last one? This caused the entire Imperial Star region to speculate. The Emperor Star Lady possessed the strength of a ninth-order God King, which also shook the entire Imperial Star region. This time, the most exciting thing was the Dragon Palace's recruitment of members. This became the regret of the humans and the spring of the Water Tribe. A few days after the establishment ceremony of the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty, something happened that made the people of the Imperial Star domain speechless. The Emperor Star Lady, the Empress of the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty, was going to hold a concert on the Dragon Island. An empress holding a concert. A ninth-order immortal king holding a concert. The people of the Imperial Star region didn't know what to say. But of course, they were fighting for the tickets to the concert. Moreover, there was news that another empress would be singing at the concert. This, entertainment for the whole nation. They had to finish watching the empress concert even if they had to kneel. Xiao Xian, do you want to go to the concert of me and the Star Lady? Inside the Dragon Palace, Tang Yinxian held Wang Xian's arm and asked with a smile. Sure, I'll go and have a look. When Wang Xian heard that they were going to perform, he was speechless. But now that the Imperial Star region had calmed down, it would be nice to go and have a look at their concert. After all, he was still a kid. In the Imperial Star region, Tang Yinxian and the girls were all kids. Wang Xian wasn't even 40 years old. In the Imperial Star region, he was just a slightly older baby. After all, the short-lived ones in the Imperial Star region could live for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. 40 years old was equivalent to a 4-year-old kindergarten kid on Earth. Still a kid, hey, great, I'll reserve the best spot for you. Tang Yinxian said with a smile. Wang Xian patted her head and nodded with a smile. Wang Wang. At this moment, a trembling sound came from a corner of the Dragon Palace. This tremble shook the entire Dragon Palace. Wang Xian was taken aback. He looked over and flew over. Damn, old man Sky Array, What the hell are you doing? When Wang Xian flew over, Yamata Devil Fiend had already rushed over and shouted at a palace in front. Chapter 28:28, Dragon King. Dragon King. When Wang Xian flew over, the Yaqi Devil Fiend and the rest immediately shouted. Tianjun, who came out of the palace, bowed and shouted. Tianjun, what's going on? Wang Xian asked Tianjun curiously. The commotion just now could shake the entire Dragon Palace. This wasn't something an ordinary force could achieve. Dragon King, it's the mark of the Venerable One that triggered the unbeginning sacred wings, Tianjun said with a bitter smile. Oh, unbeginning sacred wings? What have you figured out? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and asked immediately. He had figured out the mark of the Venerable One. It was the skin of an existence above the Emperor God level. As for the unbeginning sacred wings, he hadn't figured it out. But based on his guess, it should be the bones of a powerful expert in the universe. As for how strong that expert was, he didn't know. But he was sure that he was much stronger than the owner of the mark of the Venerable One. The reason why he didn't die completely was because of the unbeginning sacred wings. Not yet. I placed the mark of the Venerable One on the unbeginning sacred wings and wanted to integrate it. In the end, I triggered a force from the unbeginning sacred wings and broke the mark of the Venerable One, Tianjun said awkwardly. Gosh, old man Tianjun, the mark of the Venerable One is a treasure comparable to an emperor god. How could you break it just like that? Orokai widened his eyes and asked. Ahum, it's not really broken. I can repair it and use it as the base of an array. That way, I can go against a guy like you. Tianjun glanced at him and said with dissatisfaction. Have you figured out anything useful? Wang Xian asked curiously. Not for the time being. However, I can confirm that the level of the unbeginning sacred wings is very, very high. Furthermore, I discovered that the dragon souls of your two avatars are currently fusing with the unbeginning sacred wings. Once the fusion is complete, something unexpected might happen, Tianjun said with flickering eyes. Wang Xian could sense that the two dragon souls of his wind and thunder avatars were integrating with the unbeginning sacred wings. Old man Tianjun, you discovered that the unbeginning sacred wings is integrating with the dragon souls of the Dragon King. Why are you still experimenting with the mark of the Venerable One? Orokai asked curiously. I want to test if the mark of the supremacy and the unbeginning sacred wings are one. The heavenly array replied, the mark of the Venerable One is the treasure of the Witchcraft Association. I already knew about this. This treasure was obtained from Desolation's 6 directions. As for the unbeginning sacred wings, I obtained it from Desolation's 6 directions, so I decided to test it out. As he spoke, he took out the mark of a venerable. A tear appeared on the blood-red cloth. What kind of place is 8 desolations and 6 directions? This was not the first time Wang Xian had heard of this term. In the past, he had thought it was just a term. On Earth, the 8 directions referred to the east, west, south, north, southeast, northeast, southwest, and northwest. The 6 directions were up, down, east, west, north and south. The 8 desolations and 6 directions was also known as the universe. Obviously, in this dazzling starry sky, the 8 desolations and 6 directions was a place. Dragon King, the 8 desolations and 6 directions are located in the east of the dazzling starry sky. There is a cosmic void there. No one knows how big that place is. However, we only know that the 8 desolations and 6 directions might be related to the myriad races in the center of the universe. Perhaps at the end of the 8 desolations and 6 directions is the center of the universe, where the myriad races live. Heavenly Array said solemnly. The 8 desolations and 6 directions was a unique and powerful place. Over there were all sorts of things in the 8 directions of east, west, south, north, southeast, northeast, southwest, northwest, up and down, east, west, north and south. It was unlike the Dragon Island. On the Dragon Island, there might be an endless void in the sky and nothing else. However, in the 8 desolations and 6 directions, there might be a sky river in the sky above a humongous island. On the bottom right of a sky river, there might be a star. It was a very complicated starry sky region. Within it, there might be terrifying existences and great opportunities. The reason why he was known as the sweeping 8 desolations and 6 directions back then was just because other experts were flattering him. In fact, he might not even have explored 1/10 of the 8 desolations and 6 directions. The reason why he had such a nickname was because he had fought against more than a dozen emperor gods alone and was known as the sweeping 8 desolations and 6 directions. The center of the universe, where the myriad races live. Yamata no Orokai and Devilfiend were astonished at the sight. Yes. No one knows how big the universe we are in. Even we don't know where the center of the universe is. However, there are clear historical records that the center of the universe exists. That's the place where the myriad races live. It's said that there's also a continent there called the Heavens Creation Chaotic Continent. Since the Dragon King has inherited the legacy of the Divine Dragon, you should know something about it. The Divine Dragon tribe is also one of the myriad races. We belong to the pinnacle race. Heavenly Array nodded and said, "That's right. In the records of the legacy of the Divine Dragon, there's a center in the universe where the myriad races live and countless living beings fight for supremacy. The Divine Dragon tribe is just one of the races. There are several existences that are comparable to the Divine Dragon tribe." Wang Xian nodded. The Divine Dragon tribe was not the only top tribe. The Phoenix tribe, the Divine Tiger tribe, the Black Tortoise tribe, the Elf tribe, the Wizard tribe, the Skeleton tribe, and many others had tribes that were not weaker than the Divine Dragon tribe. However, the current Divine Dragon tribe was no longer the Divine Dragon tribe of the past. The current Divine Dragon tribe had completely declined. However, their potential had increased tremendously. Because of the integration of the Divine Dragon tribe and the Insect tribe. Because of the Divine Dragon system. In that place where the myriad races live, there aren't just the myriad races. There are also unique and powerful experts and even inborn life forms. Wang Xian added as he recalled some information about the legacy of the Divine Dragon. There were galactic giant beasts that were strong enough to defy the natural order. There were ancient god Kuan Breeder and so on that the myriad races feared. Of course, the ancient god Kuan Breeder should have been extinct in the center of the universe. However, based on some information that Wang Xian had obtained, the Divine Dragon tribe might not have been completely extinct. The destruction of the Divine Dragon tribe was the death of the purebred Divine Dragons. Those creatures with the Divine Dragon bloodline didn't perish. Under the circumstances of great opportunities, those creatures with the Divine Dragon bloodline could achieve atavism and become a true Divine Dragon. As for whether the Divine Dragon tribe still existed in the center of the universe, Wang Xian had no idea. Old Man Heavenly Array, are there many treasures in the 8 desolations? Orochi's eyes lit up as he asked. There are many, but it's also very dangerous. Some people speculate that the 8 desolations is an ancient battlefield, a battlefield of ancient races. There are dangers and great opportunities in it. At least 80% of the Emperor gods in the resplendent starry sky made breakthroughs there. Heavenly Array nodded his head heavily and said. Chapter 28-29, 80% of the god emperors are born in the 8 desolations and 6 directions. Doesn't this mean that there are many experts there? Orokai clicked his tongue and said in surprise. 80% of the god emperors came from the 8 desolations and 6 directions. This meant that there might be many experts there. The 8 desolation and 6 mergents are not within the 7 major regions, but there are a large number of experts gathered there, especially god kings whose lifespans have reached the end of their lifespans. Many god kings are prepared to enter there and take a gamble. Whether they live or die is completely up to luck. It's also because there are more experts with this mentality that there are more breakthroughs. The number of experts gathered in the 8 desolations and 6 directions is no less than the number of experts in a domain. Moreover, it's best to keep a low profile there. Otherwise, many people who are nearing the end of their lifespans won't care about your status. Plus, there should be quite a number of emperor gods in 8 desolation and 6 directions. In the 7 regions, there are about 120 known emperor gods. In 8 desolation and 6 directions, there should be 20 to 30. Tianjin continued his introduction. Wang Xian and the rest nodded their heads slightly. When the Dragon Palace is completely stabilized, I'll go there to take a look, said Wang Xian. Dragon King, this unbeginning sacred wings is for you. Perhaps it won't be long before the unbeginning sacred wings completely fuses with the dragon soul. Tianjin passed the unbeginning sacred wings to Wang Xian. Wang Xian took it over and looked at the bone wings that were as dazzling as jade. At this moment, there was a slight change in the bone wings. There was wind and lightning energy revolving on them. He looked at it for a while, then put it away. Over the next few days, Wang Xian attended the concert of the Emperor Star Maiden and Yinxian. After which, he began to build the Dragon Palace in the ocean of the Imperial Star Domain. After the establishment of the Dragon Palace, it began to recruit members. A celebration of the Water Tribe began. All the Water Tribe in the Imperial Star region went crazy. They all came to the Dragon Palace to try the Dragon Gate. However, it was extremely difficult to break through the Dragon Gate. There were only a few who could enter. However, the members of the Water Tribe who had passed the Dragon's Gate all revealed expressions of extreme excitement. The number of members in Dragon Palace was also increasing rapidly. In just 1 month, the number had increased by more than 200,000. As for the members who joined the Dragon Palace, the weaker ones would immediately have their strength enhanced. With the Dragon Palace's current resources, it could increase the number of God Kings by 2,000 every day. That would be 20,000 in 10 days. The members who joined could also keep up with the pace of Dragon Palace quickly. As the days passed, the Imperial Star region gradually stabilized. The Dragon Phoenix God dynasty was in charge of most of the Imperial Star region. In the beginning, the people were still a little worried about the Empress's policies, but they later supported them. With the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty's current policies, it was at least much better than when the Imperial Court was in charge. This was because when the Imperial Court was in charge, the Imperial Court disciples had many privileges. Even if the Imperial Court God King experts wanted to kill someone, they could just kill that person. But now, no one dared to casually kill. Once someone killed someone, even a God King would be punished. Everything became fair. After the Imperial Star Domain stabilized, the girls were not too busy. Hence, they dragged Wang Xian along for a vacation. The entire Imperial Star region was extremely vast. There were countless planets and all sorts of sceneries and delicacies. This made all the girls very excited. The group started to tour the Imperial Star region. This tour lasted for 5 years. Buzz buzz buzz. Wang Xian and a group of girls were at the peak of a snowy mountain. All of a sudden, Wang Xian sensed an item in his mother nest vibrating. Waves of energy were being emitted from it. He was slightly shocked, and his mind moved. What's wrong, Xiaoxian? The group of girls looked at him and asked in surprise. In front of them, there were steaming hot delicacies. Buzz. Wang Xian did not answer them. He waved his arm and stared ahead with flickering eyes. The unbeginning sacred wings appeared in front of him. Compared to before, the unbeginning sacred wings had undergone a huge change. The unbeginning sacred wings that used to radiate a jade-like glow had changed drastically. Green and purple light fused together, and the sound of wind and thunder blended together. On the entire bone wing of the unbeginning sacred wings, there were wind divine dragons with wings and thunder divine dragons with dense thunder and lightning entwined around them. The two types of divine dragons looked very small, but they were very dazzling. Gradually, the wind and thunder attributes separated, and the two divine dragons came to the two bone wings respectively. One divine dragon occupied one bone wing. Buzz. At this time, the heads of the two divine dragons came to the protruding bone in the middle of the unbeginning sacred wings. The two heads gradually fused. They formed a dragon head that was half wind and half thunder attributes. This is Xiaoxian, has the unbeginning sacred wings completely fused? At the side, a group of girls asked in surprise. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly at the side. He opened his arms with flickering eyes. The clothes on his upper body disappeared instantly, revealing a flawless body. The unbeginning sacred wings flapped slightly and came to his back. The protruding bone in the middle connected to his back and became a bone wing. Buzz. In the next moment, a message entered his mind, which made Wang Xian squint his eyes. This wing is so cool. Yes, it's cool. But it's mainly because Xiao Xian is too cool. Hee. This pair of wings seems to be lacking something. Oh right, it's lacking feathers. The girls at the side looked at the wings on Wang Xian's back curiously and commented with a smile. Yes, it's lacking feathers. Wang Xian received the message in his mind and his eyes shone brightly. Ha! It's really lacking feathers? Guan Shuqing and the girls asked curiously. Yes, this unbeginning sacred wings is a very powerful and horrifying treasure. Perhaps it's an opportunity for me to evolve again. Wang Xian said with sparkling eyes. Evolve again? The group of girls was taken aback. The unbeginning sacred wings is a wind and thunder attribute treasure. It can allow living beings to possess the wind and thunder attribute. Once I can get the complete unbeginning sacred wings, I'll have a chance to evolve into a 9-colored divine dragon with 9 attribute. The only divine dragon with all attributes in the history of the divine dragon tribe. Wang Xian said with a burning gaze. Wang Xian had no idea how powerful a divine dragon with 9 attributes would be. Perhaps, it could be invincible in the universe. Xiao Xian, how can you evolve into a 9-colored divine dragon? The group of girls asked hurriedly. This unbeginning sacred wings isn't complete. It's missing the wind and thunder feather. This isn't a special feather, but a feather formed from the wind and thunder origin. It was originally one with the unbeginning sacred wings, but it's gone now. According to the information on the unbeginning sacred wings, the wind attribute feather is in Fenglin. As for the thunder attribute feather, I don't know where it is. As Wang Xian spoke, he was deep in thought. Wang Xian had seen Fenglin in a document before. He felt a little familiar.